Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another episode of Take Back My Brain. And I have a treat for you today. I am so excited. I have Gavin with me, and he is a certified aromatherapist, and he has an amazing story. So today we're going to talk about oils to help your brain for just lifestyle and things just to enhance what we're already doing and what we already talk about on this show. So Gavin is going to give us an amazing amount of information about oils today, but I just want to say thank you, Gavin, for blessing us with coming on the show today. And I've been using your oils for a little bit and I'm just loving them. So welcome.
Well, thank you. What a pleasure to be here. I'm super excited. It's always a good day to talk about essential oils, Laurie. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, that is what you live and breathe, right?
That is exactly right.
Yeah. So
That
tell us
is
a little bit
exactly right.
about your company, and then I want you to tell the audience your story because it's incredible as to how you
You
got
bet.
where you are.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity again. So Restore Hope Oils, we are a company that's very specific to purity, but the concept behind essential oils and the idea behind Restore Hope Oils is we wanted to create a company that was more remedy focused as opposed to consumption. And we wanted to create a company that was so top tier, that was just top tier essential oils that practitioners could have confidence in and provide those or opportunities for their clients and customers to be able to use them.
Mm-hmm.
And it came about because I wanted to create a company that I could absolutely have confidence in, that I had no restrictions on the type of oils that I could use or purchase, and that I wanted to be able to participate and understand more of the testing that went on. And so I could be able to source what I wanted for the best of our own my own family's well-being, as well as
Right.
those who are participating.
I love it. So can you expound a little bit on, you said something, you wanted it to be more remedy focused versus consumption focused. What did you mean by that?
So when I say remedy focus, what I mean is I wanted someone to be able to come onto our site and get what they felt they needed, as opposed to having to sign up for something and commit to something of buying a certain amount every month or whatever it may be. I didn't want our people to have to do that. I like a model where it's you get what you feel you need or you feel you want,
Mm-hmm.
and we strive to provide value to you, and that's our goal. If we're not providing value to you, then how does that benefit you?
Right, right. I love it. So tell us how you got to where you are, because not everybody just starts an essential oil company. So
Right. No, and that's a great question. And that is so much of what our company is, right? So
right.
part of the reason is in 2009, I was diagnosed with a rare liver disease called PSC. It stands for primary sclerosing cholangitis. And what it is an inflammatory autoimmune disease of the bile duct or bile ducts. And so what happens is the bile ducts begin to scar off because they become so inflamed that eventually no bile can drain, which backs up and basically kills the liver. So it
Mm-hmm.
creates cirrhosis over time and kills the liver. And the only quote unquote cure for it is a transplant. So I was 29 years old, had two little ones, and my beautiful wife at the time. And I went in to have my gallbladder removed. My friend was a surgeon. When I got done with the surgery, he said, Gav, I think you have a disease called PSC. I took a biopsy of your liver. And I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
He said, I think you're going to need a transplant. And I was like, coming out of this, like, am I still like on anesthesia? Like, what is going on? So eventually went to a specialist and he said, yes, you have PSC. And the only thing we can do is monitor it until you need a transplant. And he said, you're more than likely going to die in 1 to 10 years. And I was like, so whoa, wait, we don't do anything? All we do is monitor? And he said, yeah, that's all we can do for this. There's nothing for PSC. And over time, I got bad really quick. They put a stent in my bile duct to try and keep me functioning and bile draining. It didn't work. They put a second stent in my common bile duct, which is like the trunk of the tree. There's a Y, the trunk of the tree.
Okay.
And they put a second stent in. And it was then that I was introduced to essential oils, specifically geranium and frankincense. And I began to apply very, very minimal amounts, 1 drop of geranium a day and 1 drop of frankincense a day. Frankincense at the time, I was taught to take it internally. And what I did then is I did that for 2 weeks, and then I increased my geranium to 2 drops a day at different times, right? So the concept is, especially if someone's very, very sick, a little more often is way better than a lot. And I learned that from personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
I went back into the doctor a month and a half later to have that second stent removed. And when I came out of the procedure, the doctor said, Gav, the stent is no longer in your body. All your levels are normal. I don't want to see you for 6 months. And I just looked at him, Laurie. I was like, what? What the heck just happened? Right? And a minute ago, you were possibly going to put in a third stent and possibly move towards transplant. Now we're not moving anywhere towards stents. And what in the world just happened? So I went home and I just became super hyper focused on why did this happen, and I wanted to understand the oils behind it.
Right. That's an incredible story. So did you change anything else? Like everybody's going to want to know, like, did you change your diet? Did you do something different, or was it just the oils?
It's so funny. That's a great question, because I was on an interview just a little while ago and they're like, yeah, we know you didn't just do oils. I'm like, actually, yeah, I did just do oils in that moment. Right. So in that time frame of a month and a half, I only used oils. Now, after that experience, I began to see, okay, what else can I do? I began to remove beef from my diet, heavily limited it. I got rid of dairy, at least dairy milk for the most part.
Yeah.
And then I also began to basically limit my sugars at that time. And so I started to see even greater success over time. But initially, yes, it was just oils. It wasn't supplements. It wasn't anything but oils. That's my personal story. It was just oils. But obviously, as I learned, something you'll know that's different between oils and supplements is oils don't provide nutritional value per se. They don't provide long-term nutrients. They're more messengers. And so when they absorb into the body, they create a message for the body to begin to achieve balance. But again, the body needs nutrients, not just oils. So you'll learn from me, I'm not one of those that just says, I have an oil for that. It's another tool in your toolbox. And that's another thing, what I mean by remedy as opposed to consumption. I'm not just going to tell you it's all about oils. There are things you're obviously doing, your people are obviously doing, and they want to continue doing that. And essential oils can just be helpful and magnify that, right?
Right. So that multi-therapeutic approach that we talk about a lot.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Can you expound on, you said something that was really interesting to me, that oils are messengers. So how are they messengers?
So when we're talking about essential oils, there are multiple ways to use them. And I'm not sure what the level of your listeners are in reference to essential oils. Some probably have great experience, some minimal, and some zero. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say definitely.
Okay. So essential oils work well because of the molecule size. Now, when I say they work well, what I'm saying is when we smell them, they go through the olfactory system, and then they have a backstage pass to the limbic system. And the limbic system helps to manage so many aspects of the body, but specifically emotions, trauma, memory, those types of things. But also, if we apply them topically, like on our skin, the molecules are small enough, they will penetrate through the skin layers and into the bloodstream over time. In fact, there was a great study done in 2004 on sandalwood, where they actually took individuals and put masks over them so they couldn't smell the oil, so it could not hit the olfactory system, and it could not be absorbed through or into the lungs. And then they did a dermal approach, which is topical, another word for topical, right, with a carrier oil. And then they tested and found the central nervous system calmed in many aspects. Even the heart began to calm just from dermal and topical application. So sometimes this idea of aromatherapy can be a little misleading because there are multiple ways to use essential oils. Does that help?
No, that's super helpful. That is super helpful. Is there a way that the essential oils, because you're saying that it's kind of bringing down the body into that parasympathetic state, is that what I'm hearing you? Like, it really helps with that. So if you can use oils to help with that, then in theory, the supplementation should work better, right?
Exactly right. That's completely accurate. So the other thing we have to remember is some essential oils are stimulants and some are more relaxing. And so when we're talking about the brain, we have to really know what our goal is with essential oils. If we're wanting to engage the parasympathetic all day long, there's so many oils that could be able to do that. But again, we also have studies and results of individuals who want to increase brain function, want to stimulate brain function. We can see that too. So it's really a question of what is the person wanting to accomplish, and we go from there.
Right. So let's dive into a few maybe scenarios of clients and stuff that I have. So I have a lot of women say, 30 to 55-ish that come in and they have a lot of stress and anxiety.
Mhm.
So they're kind of stuck in that sympathetic mode. And so we want to bring that down. And then a lot of times I use amino acid therapy with them. So we support the neurotransmitter function, but sometimes,
Perfect.
we like this multi-therapeutic approach. How can we come at that with oils as well?
It's a great question. So if someone is coming at this with stress, or we could even call it like adrenal overload,
Yeah, high
nervous
cortisol.
exhaustion.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are different things. So there's actually 3 different blends that we have that can work, that I believe could work well in this situation. Each of them work at different levels.
Uh-huh.
One that we've recently released is called I Am Whole. And
I
it's
just
what we
saw
call the
that. I'm like,
stability
ooh,
blend.
I want that one.
So it's interesting because this is my wife's absolute favorite oil, and those that have experienced this oil, it quickly becomes their favorite. Now, what makes this different than another oil called I Am Peace? So I Am Peace is one of my favorite aromas,
Okay.
right? So we got to be clear on aroma is so key, but at the
Yeah.
same time, sometimes maybe the aroma is not our favorite, but the therapeutic value is just lights out, right? And so I actually don't formulate anything I don't like the aroma for, but and that is one thing that makes us different, right? Is I am overall the formulation. So we're not just sending it out to somebody to say, hey, can you create something that can do this and this? No, we are doing the research. We're looking at the history. We're looking at actual individuals using it. So with I Am Whole, the difference between that and something like I Am Peace is it's a little heavier. And what we mean by that is it uses different oils that can bring down or bring us to that parasympathetic possibly quicker. And that comes from what we call notes. So if you've ever seen a piano, we have high notes and then we have low notes. So they create amazing music together. The low notes will stay into, or the bass notes can stay in the bloodstream or in the system up to 72 hours.
Wow.
Whereas the high notes or top notes flash off very quickly, and they're only in the system, 2 to 4, maybe 6 hours.
Okay.
And then we have what we call medium notes. And the medium notes can stay anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, depending on the oil and the individual. So why this matters and why I'm bringing this up is because pure or I Am Whole has more of those specific oils that have base notes. There are obviously some top notes there, but it has more base notes, one being like sandalwood. Sandalwood has the capacity for not only helping cellular inflammation, but it also has the capacity to really bring us into that central nervous system state where we're just calm and everybody's communicating a message of calm.
I feel so grounded.
Sandalwood, go ahead. What's that?
I feel really grounded when I use sandalwood.
Yeah, and it is. In fact, sometimes people will call it a relaxant, but what we really want to call is a harmonizer. It takes everything around it and just creates harmony within that allows that grounded state. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah, I love it.
So perfect. So 2 of the main oils, 3 of the main oils in I Am Whole. One is called neroli. Neroli is my favorite essential oil for when you just get emotionally like sideswiped. You're starting the day, you're super excited about it, and all of a sudden just wham, something comes out of nowhere. It's my favorite oil to get us back on center.
Okay.
Sandalwood works really well with neroli. Go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say I've never even heard of neroli.
Neroli is, so there's the bitter orange
Yeah.
tree. It actually produces 3 different oils: orange, bitter orange, then also we call petit grain, which is from the twigs and aspects of the tree, and then neroli is the flower. So neroli is a super, super high-end oil that is very adulterated. So we have to be extremely careful when we source that. We will test it before we buy it, and then we'll perform up to 13 different tests after we buy it to verify that it's legit and real.
Wow.
So
that's
yeah, it's
incredible.
a floral. It's just life-changing good. I love neroli. It is a happy, happy, wonderful oil.
I'm gonna have to get some of the I Am Whole for sure.
You
Yeah.
bet.
Okay, so tell us about a few others.
Go ahead. No, you tell me. Tell me where I'm going.
Okay, so you were saying I Am Whole, and we have I Am Peace, and so both of those are for kind of bringing you down.
Yeah.
Out
But the
of
difference
that
between the
sympathetic state.
two, yep, the difference between the two is I Am Peace has a lighter note when you smell it. So it almost has a lemon scent.
Oh.
It's funny because there's no lemon in it. It's what we call mei chang or Litsea cubeba. And we combine that with some citrus and also bergamot, we would call citrus. So it has a grounding effect, but that comes more from the frankincense and from the elemi aspects of it. But bergamot, you may or may not know this, and your people may or may not know this, but bergamot is really like a citrus lavender. It has what we call D-limonene, but then has two of the main chemicals that we find in lavender. So what it can do is lift us and calm us at the same time. It's one of my absolute favorite citrus oils, and she's so amazing at that. Because when you have someone, let's go back to your original question, what do I do for someone that's experiencing stress and overload? They may want, hey, I really need I Am Whole. I Am Whole is going to get deeper. It just is emotionally deeper. If there's been trauma that has caused that stress never to release, I'm going to go after I Am Whole. If they're needing something that, wow, I'm in more of a temporary state of stress, I really, really like I Am Peace. And it's not to suggest one is temporary, one's long-term. It's just the oils can get deeper based on the notes that we use. Is that clear?
Yeah. Yeah. So when people use the oil, so you're talking about trauma. So does it actually help to release trauma in the body?
Yep. So it helps to get the body into a state so the body can work through it in itself. So there's many studies that we can find in reference to emotions being stuck in very specific organs, right? So anger is the liver organ, right? Sadness and grief can be in the lungs. You think about babies, sometimes when children have a difficult time having a bowel movement, they hold it in. If they don't solve that as a baby or as a youth, as they grow older, they may continue to hold on to things, and that was never solved. So they hold on to emotion and don't release it. So what an essential oil can do when applied topically, maybe over the large intestine, is help the body to release that. This is something I had to do with my youngest, and we utilized, because she was very small, we utilized Roman chamomile for this to help her calm and to help her to be able to release and begin to have that. So it's no different from with an adult. Constipation is not just physical constipation, it's a constipation of emotion. Oh, yeah. And so in oil, when we smell it, works on a subconscious level and also on a physical level. So there's an emotional detox and a physical detox, for lack of a better term.
Okay, that makes sense. Very good. So if I have some women who are hormonal and they have constipation,
sure,
what would you suggest?
So you cut out just a little bit. You have someone who's experiencing hormone challenges and they're constipated?
Yeah,
is that accurate?
Because of the hormone challenges. Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. It depends. Where are they in their cycle, right? So we have a trio that we call the empowered trio. And if it's in the beginning of their cycle, something like I Am Strong could possibly be very helpful. It's high in grapefruit and then other warming spices. So when we're talking about the large intestine, that area of constipation, I'm wanting to warm that area up and I'm wanting to create movement. If we talked about a single oil, black pepper is fantastic for that. Use a carrier oil. It's a wonderful, wonderful oil to be able to use that. Black pepper is in I Am Strong, as that is one of the oils. Emotionally, black pepper is one of those that helps us just break through barriers. Sometimes it's a little intense for some people because they're not ready to really start to bring about, like, my experience in detox, liver detox in particular. We created a blend called Pure Regen. And when we created it, I had someone say, hey, this is an intense oil. I said, you're holding on to emotion. They said, I feel a little angry. I'm like, you're going to feel a little angry if you don't let it loose. All it's doing is helping the body try to release what you've been holding on to. And they were like, okay, how do I minimize it? Because that's a question, right? You just use more carrier oil. Your carrier oil becomes your vehicle, and it creates more like a time release capsule. Okay. So it slows the absorption rate. Does that make sense?
That does. Yep. Yeah, definitely. And I love the liver. I call it a supplement, but the liver oil. It's amazing. It's really good. And I'm sorry, my brain can't think of the name of it. The lymph one.
So we have multiple lymph ones. Are you talking Pure Happy? I Am Peace could be a great lymph oil. So you have Live Better, which let's go back to the
Live.
Live Better is what I teach. Yeah. Okay, so Live Better, and then Pure Regen can be used with the lymph. So I use Live Better at night and Pure Regen in the day.
Why?
So I'll put Live Better right over the spleen, Pure Regen over the spleen and the liver. Okay. And that's the one people were like, this can be intense. And I'm like, well, if you're not ready for it and you don't like to remove emotion, then yes, it can
Yeah,
be.
it can be,
So
but emotion is a good thing to let go if you're ready.
it is a fantastic thing to let go. And don't get the wrong idea here. It's not like somebody's going to be running around just angry all the time. It's not that. It's just, oh, this is a different experience for me, right? Because it's trying to bring balance. Like you said, it's trying to get the message that may have been blocked because of emotional barriers or nutrition. Now that you have the right nutrition, the message can get there even more clearly. And that's
Right.
something I talk a lot about is if you have foundational nutrition, I don't know if you've ever driven on a road that has a lot of potholes.
Mhm.
It's like the nutrition comes and covers the potholes. So when the oil enters, it's just smooth. It's just a smoother ride. It's a smoother message. It gets where it needs to go. Maybe that's a terrible example, but I
No,
think we can
I
all
think
relate to
that's good.
potholes.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. So, because when I see clients, I have a lot of clients that come in and they've been using oils a long time and they're still really sick, right? And so they're like, so are
Yep.
my oils not working? Well, maybe they won't, depending on what kind of brand you have, right? You know,
Fair enough.
the quality of them. But if they have a high quality brand, I'm like, no, we just have to come at it from a different angle too, so that those things will work. And then I'll test their oils and they're not really helping them a lot. But as soon as we get the nutrition in there, we get some other imbalances coming in, and then we've added the oils again, I see a lot more progress. You know,
Yep.
if we can do that. So I was so excited to be introduced to your oils because the quality of them is so amazing. And then kind of tell us
Thank
a
you.
little bit about your quality control process and because there's so many different oils out there, and I don't want to talk about brands or anything like that. That's not my point, but
Sure.
just so people can know, how do I know that I'm getting a good oil? Because if I go to Walmart and pick one up, I mean, my dad, I say this because my dad dropped off this box of oils because he was cleaning it. My mom died in January and he was
I'm
cleaning out
sorry to hear
some
that.
of her stuff. And he's like, oh, maybe Laurie will want these essential oils. And he literally put them in my garage. They were still in the box, the box that you like flip up. And I walked in my
Mhm.
garage. I'm like, what is that awful smell out here? Just smell like really bad perfume. And I discovered it was the oil box and it was just really cheap oils. So I just had to throw them away because I'm like, there's no way we can use these.
This is not going on my skin. I get
No,
it.
no.
No, I get it. So the when we talk about quality control, it's really interesting because people will say, "How do you know your oils are good?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, my life depends on them. It's a little different than your average customer, right?
Right, right. This is your
But
business.
right, it's not even just my business. It is like my life, right? I mean, live
Yes.
better. It goes on every single night. And so the other thing we have to think about that a lot of people don't realize happens in the essential oil industry is it's not only that people will put synthetics in, what they will do is they will actually, let's say we had cinnamon bark, right? What people can do is they will take an extract of cassia, which is also considered cinnamon, and then they'll add the cheap extract, but looks like cinnamon on a GCMS or something else, and they're add it to the cinnamon, and it comes off smelling fantastic. But what has just happened is they've cheapened the therapeutic value. So when we test, we're looking for not only the right amount of actual constituents. I want to know where it was grown. I want to know where the zone region it was grown in because I can get helichrysum. I don't want American helichrysum, right? I want a helichrysum from Europe, very specific parts of Europe, right? I don't want neroli. I don't buy Egyptian neroli. I buy Moroccan neroli. It's more expensive. It doesn't really matter. We don't utilize any French lavender. For every 10 kilograms of lavender grown, 100 leaves France. How does that math work, right? It doesn't make sense. So we use Bulgarian lavender or other areas that we know. And when we see, we can go, okay, exactly. This is the chemical constituent amount that I want. And we can know the purity. We can know all that. So we walk through that whole I'll walk through that with chemists in different groups and say, okay, where are we at? What's different from this? But I'm not big on, a lot of companies will say, I just want it to be consistent all the time. I don't believe Mother Earth is consistent all the time.
Right.
Right. Lavender last year may smell a little bit different this year because maybe it was a drier year. So just like a tree, you've talked about how you can look at the rings of a tree and see what the years were based on how close they were or far apart. Nature's the same across the board, but we are looking for consistent therapeutic value based on the constituents there. But I'm not going to say I need it to be this for consistency's sake. No. So that's not how we work. We work for what is good oil, what's it supposed to look like, and we'll stick with that, and then we'll take it through all the different studies and tests that we do to make sure there's no additional adulteration or there's no cutting of it, and make sure the purity's there.
Yeah, which has got to be a full-time, like, constant process for you.
Well, we constantly are looking at, okay, let's look at this last batch, let's look at this batch, okay, but again, for you and I to have the best experience, because the essential oils are made of the same things as our body, right? Carbon, water, and a few other main things. We need that to really, the message will be convoluted. The message will not be accurate, right? So the problem with people now in their health is they're not getting the right messages where they need to be for balance. We don't need to create an oil that has a convoluted message. It doesn't help. And so that's why we go to such lengths for purity and sourcing it in the areas of the world that we're confident in.
Wow. And that makes so much sense to me. And as you're saying, lavender last year may not smell the same or have the same properties as it does this year. And I think our body shifts like that too. We don't want to use the exact same thing all the time. Like, we need that hormetic shifting within us, right? And so that's beautiful to me that is how you source and kind of go with the way God intended everything to be in our body. So I love that. You said something about Egyptian oils, and you didn't use something from Egypt, and instead you do Moroccan.
Now let's clarify. Neroli, I love Egyptian geranium.
Okay, interesting.
Right. Yeah. So we're looking at just different sourcing. So I don't generally buy Egyptian, but I love, again, Moroccan. So it's just that's the difference between Gavin and someone else.
Yeah,
one's not necessarily bad.
It piqued my attention because we were just in Egypt, and I was in a essential oil store there, and they sit you down and they do all this fun stuff. It was really fun. Like, I loved it. It was way up my alley. So
that's exciting. That's awesome.
Yeah, but you're like, I don't know how pure these are. So you're in a country, I don't know what they do to
them. It is interesting though. The nose is so fantastic because even though we have all the science, we can even detect things with the nose that a machine will not detect. Right. For example, one of our suppliers sent me an oil. I had asked for a specific blend to be made, and they used a different, let's say, for example, different type of geranium in the blend that I had asked for. And so when I smell it, I said, this is off. And this isn't about Gavin. This is about the nose, right? So just take Gavin out of the picture. I called him back and said, hey, this is off. And he's like, it's not off. I said, it is off. Tell me the percentage differences, right? And they were absolutely minute.
Wow.
But I said, please go back and see what was done. They call me back a week later. They're like, you know what? We used a different geranium than you had asked us to utilize. And so it created literally 0.00 of more of a specific chemical constituent that the nose could detect. That it wasn't going to matter on a GCMS or on some type of a machine, because it looks like, oh, this fits within what would be seen as an okay geranium. And it was just fascinating to me how amazing the human body is. It's just wonderful.
I love it. I love it. So can I ask you a few more questions about like specific things?
I'm here with you.
I love it. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the brain, the I am whole, the I am peace, I am strong. What about if somebody comes to you, say, with maybe some dementia going on or some other, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, like I know you can't say cure or anything like that, but how can you support their body in that manner?
You bet. Great question. So we would look at possibly stimulant type oils or a combination of stimulant and relaxing oils. So one that could possibly be a great option is one called I Am Resilient. And I think your listeners need to know, why are the I Ams on each of these.
I
So
was
we
just
created
going to say
7
that
different.
that's super important, because if you come into my office and I have my clients do, okay, we have to do I am statements. So that's one of the reasons that I'm so excited about your blends, because they go with everything that I teach.
Perfect. No, that's super. Part of the reason this came about is I'm a girl dad. So I have 4
There you
girls,
go.
and I looked at the messages from the world and I said, no, I'm not okay with this. And I'm going to create products, because essential oils, also something you need to understand, is an essential oil could be the purest essential oil on the market. But if the intention of why it was blended was not pure, it becomes less effective. So sometimes we try and turn essential oils into pharmaceuticals. They will never be pharmaceuticals. They are an energetic modality, and they are affected by intention.
Right.
And so this is helpful for intention. So I am resilient. It's called the cooling blend, but the main ingredient is peppermint. There's a lot of studies done with peppermint, rosemary, eucalyptus, a lot of these stimulant oils regarding dementia and seeing success, right? And seeing some brain stimulation. So am I suggesting they're the answer? No. What I am suggesting is, based on the study and historical data, possibly something like I am resilient could be very helpful. The interesting thing is it has peppermint, but then lavender as well. So you have this combining of a relaxant as well as a stimulant. So it calms a little bit of that stimulant activity, and that was completely and totally on purpose. So that would be one where you could start and see how they do, and then look at possibly even going to something like a single of rosemary or a single of peppermint. One of the challenges with peppermint is our peppermint's extremely strong, and the menthol hits and almost just overwhelms the entire olfactory system. And you're like, okay, I can't smell anything for like 3 hours now. What just happened? It's because peppermint's so very strong that way, right? So
Right.
does that help answer your question?
No, that really, really does. I love it. So if somebody has inflammation, like chronic inflammation, head to toe, what support would you offer?
I would look at I Am Whole
Okay.
from a spinal application approach.
Okay.
And the reason is every single one of the oils within it have some aspect, at least from data and historical use, of an anti-inflammatory capacity. One of the biggest ones in there is turmeric.
Okay.
Now, if you look at I Am Whole, like a standard aromatherapist would look at it and go, why are these together? They are together for a reason. They work beautifully together from a cellular approach. And the reason why we talk about the spine is because, again, that's the motherboard of our body. So I Am Whole can be helpful in a secondary way for even digestive challenges. And we know that the brain and the gut are so connected, right?
Right.
But if you put an oil on the bottom of the feet and the spine, then it's like we're connecting the dots from a nerve standpoint. Does that make sense? So someone could very easily apply the roll-on of I Am Whole over the spine on the bottom of the feet when they look at going to bed or getting ready for bed, or they could do it during the day. But again, just even smelling it, I'll take a roll-on, like I'll take I Am Whole right now. So this is I Am Whole, and I'll take it and I'll put it on my palm. Yes, my palm is clean. I washed it. But then I'll just take it as it is, and I'll smell for 30 to 60 seconds, because remember, the fastest way to change state is through smell. It's not through something else. And so the beauty of this, what we're talking about, is obviously you could use some nutrients specific to inflammation, but the body gets supplement fatigue. And so that's one of the beautiful things about essential oils is it provide new information, but there's nothing that has to be broken down. It just goes right into that olfactory system, bypasses the cerebral cortex, and goes straight to the limbic system. Sorry if I got too sciencey there.
No,
But yeah,
that made great sense to me. So
does that help?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So I Am Whole is one where we could start, right? But again, I Am Resilient could be another one. There's so many options there.
Yeah.
It's really comes down to what is the specific need of inflammation. Are you feeling it needs a combination of emotional and possible inflammation challenges? Then yeah, I Am Whole. If you're looking at this person is just running hot, meaning we take the 5 elements, right, of traditional Chinese medicine, something like that. We need to cool this system. We need to help them work through that. I Am Resilient could be great that way.
I love it. Yeah. So on your website, are there protocols that people can like, do you exactly tell them how to use it? And can they ask you questions? Like, I feel like
Yep.
you have fantastic customer service.
No, you're great. You're great. So common uses. So there'll be common uses for each product,
Okay.
especially the blends. We're careful not to get too specific, but those common uses are there. And if they want to reach out to us, they just email us at support@restorehopeoils.com. And I do my best to answer those where I can, as many of them as I can, because I want them to feel like, okay, Gavin is understanding what I'm doing. He understands the oils. Let's work together on this. I want your people to have a positive experience with essential oils and have direction that can be accurate for them. So I really take time to answer those questions. A lot of times that's what I'm doing a lot of the day, but it's because I want there to be a positive experience.
That sounds fantastic. I love it. So are there any, like if there was three things that you want people to know about essential oils, what would that be?
If there were three things about essential oils that I want someone to know, is that an essential oil is built to provide hope to the body and to the mind.
Ooh,
and so when you look at it as something that can be helpful for you, yes, in your toolbox, you just have to find the right one. Sometimes it takes a little bit, but an essential oil, what it does is it's to provide hope. And the reason is, secondly, is I believe it connects us spiritually to the divine more effectively than anything else. And so I think we're taking nature in her perfect state and allowing our bodies to experience that, to provide us with a greater balance, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Third thing I would like them to know is, don't get so caught up in this idea of what do I have to use for this specific benefit. Just find one you love and begin using it. Like, this is one that we really love and have seen great benefit from. It's called I Am Enough. And it's the reassurance blend, but recently I reformulated it with rose.
Oh, I love
And
that.
so it's a wonderful oil for individuals that may be experiencing overload on the adrenals. And so what would I do? I would apply over the adrenals aspect of my body, bottom of the feet. But do you have to do that? Don't get so caught up in that. Just allow your body to smell it. I was in another interview the other day and I said, don't get so caught up in the application. If for nothing else, remember to smell it, because that's the fastest way to create benefit.
Right, right. And your body knows what to do. So if you give the
It
body
does.
what it needs, it will use it where it needs to, when it needs to. Yeah.
Exactly right.
So it doesn't have to be on the right point. It doesn't have to be, the body will
Nope.
just know. So,
Yep. Yep.
Kevin, this has been fantastic. I am so excited. So I hope all of you check out Restore Hope Oils. It's going to be in the show notes. You can use the code Laurie Hammer for 10% off your order. And I just encourage everyone to try it. I know there's some new oils that I'm going to try from you, Gavin. I can't wait to get them and just order them as soon as we're done. So
thank you.
Yes, this is fantastic. I know this is your passion, and outside of your wife, the love of your life. So yeah, any parting words?
No, just again, part of the reason why these are here is because you are enough. Whoever is listening, just accept the fact that you are fantastic, accept you as you are, because that's what an oil does. And it helps us to really achieve that balance that we feel we want, but you are enough the way that you are. That is my message today.
I love it, Gavin. Thank you so much. We definitely are created in the image of God, and he created us enough. So
thank you.
Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Gavin, so much for being here. It's such a blessing. And I look forward to hopefully a future interview. So thank you, everyone. And I will see you in the next episode.